All right, Scott, we're taking the dark side as war and strife through this awesome game.
I'm Strife.
No.
Run if you can!
So we got our hands on Darksiders Genesis, kind of a new take on this whole series. Now, what did you think about this game?
Well, my prior thoughts of Darksiders before now was it's a cool action kind of RPG, and I appreciate the level building and the characters, but it really wasn't the kind of game for me. So I was pleasantly surprised to see that this game is a top-down beat-em-up version of it, but that's not my favorite game either. So this is an interesting take.
Yeah. So for me, I'm pretty familiar with the top-down view, so when I saw this, I was pretty intrigued, and they nailed it for the most part. Let's talk about the gameplay.
Yeah.
So it is really fun and fluent.
Yeah, it is pretty quick. Now, you get a lot of different powers you can kind of customize your combinations and your fight maneuvers with. You get 2 different characters that you can swap between, or if you're with somebody in the game, you can play co-op.
So this is one of my favorite things. We had a bit of an issue. The first time we tried to join, it wasn't working, but after just a simple reset of the consoles and coming back, half an hour later, no problems. I was able to join in his game seamlessly and play the full campaign, leveling up my own character or my profile while he's on his.
Yeah, now the one thing to consider is just that I was a couple levels ahead of you, but I did have to, as soon as you joined my game, I could only play the levels that you were at. So I couldn't just skip you through the game, but that's probably a good thing anyways, because a lot of the things in the levels are abilities and items and just grinding loot that you would want anyways.
Yeah, because
so it,
it does have this sort of RPG element. You don't have a base level, and you don't have to pick up armor and stuff or weapons. It's not about that. It's picking up and learning abilities.
They do have like a perk screen kind of thing, and you kind of just grind for those and get them at random loot drop kind of thing. So you beat a boss, and you're probably going to get a gold one. And it's not maybe set as to what those points are, but you start to fit them into the grid, the big slotted grid.
The creature cores grid.
Yeah, the creature cores, that's what it's called. And it makes you much stronger and able to take on further and further enemies. You get some weird abilities, like if I burst forward, I get like a lava stream behind me, that kind of thing. So there's different ways to kind of play the game, and you don't really get to choose that, but it kind of just works its way out.
Yeah.
And I really like how that worked.
The highlight about this game is the story. Now the story takes place mostly in hell, and you're 2 agents that are trying to figure out which demon is siding with Lucifer. Because this whole game's kind of about one of these demons trying to disturb the balance of good and evil.
Yeah, no, they do a good job of explaining this story to you over a couple different ways. There's really good cutscenes that they put together. There's also this really cool comic book kind of page that's going back and forth. I'm a fan of that with voiceovers. That can be done really well. And even on top of that, you get into the game and sometimes there's voiceovers in that, little kind of cutscenes that spring up. I really think they tried to focus on the story. And if you're a fan of the other 2 games, it's definitely going to be in it for you.
I could say that playing this game really makes me want to play the originals, honestly. After I've gotten to know these characters, where I'm like, man, I really want to just know what this series is all about.
Not so troubling now. Recover the artifact. It's beautiful.
This game is pretty long, and some of these chapters really, really last. But you get to the end of that chapter, and a lot of the times you get a boss fight. And it's a pretty rewarding boss fight. I mean, it's interesting to fight all these little mooks along the way, but when you find something that's really big and it really demands you to use your abilities, that's where the game gets more fun, especially in co-op.
Oh man, and 100%, dude, the boss design and all the characters in this game, they really,
they're
they
solid.
hit it spot on, man. It intrigued me from the get-go. Even the very beginning title screen intro that they have. It introduces the characters in a hilarious way, and it just kind of set the bar and the pace for the rest of the game.
Yeah, the demons have like a humor to them, and that's kind of really good in this game because it doesn't really take itself too seriously. The only one who takes himself seriously is War, and maybe he's, in my opinion, the weakest part of the story for that.
And that's where I kind of disagree, but not really. He is the weaker part, but he has his counterpart, Strife. Where he's this kind of sarcastic, jerk. So they really kind of play off each other really well.
not like, well, one thing's for sure. We aren't using the front door.
So Strife is kind of small and War is really big. A lot of the enemies you find are kind of varied in size, and I thought they all looked pretty good. They look kind of similar to what I remember from the other games, but there's all new characters and stuff in this one. So I think they did a good job of keeping true to the original form, but you look at some of the levels and some of the design in this game, and it's really quite impressive.
I really like how they did it, man. Honestly, with a lot of top-down games, they struggle with that camera angle, and at times you do find yourself, you know, coming up towards the camera, which is a little bit annoying. But honestly, for the most part, they did a good job. You're not really hindered by the camera.
No, there's just a few times maybe where you're behind a wall, but it gives you the outline, so at least you know where exactly you are.
Yeah.
Now, before I get off that topic too much, there is a couple glitches to this.
Yes.
I've had my character fall into the map maybe twice, but it wasn't a game-breaking event by any means. And then a couple times when I'm doing executions and stuff like that, I don't know if it's just because the camera angle was in a weird place and it just started, or maybe I was in a tight corner, but it would move my execution out somewhere, detached from my body, and then I would just zoom back there. So it was a little visually distracting, and I had a weird audio glitch one time. But other than that,
for the most part, it's fairly smooth. It's nothing too, you know, game breaking or really annoying.
So Darksiders Genesis was kind of a surprise for me. It does make me want to go back and replay those other games that are not my normal style. This game was also not my style, and with the complicated controls and everything like that, it kind of was hard for me to get into, but now that I'm in, I'm really in. I did really enjoy this game. I have to give this one an 8.
All right, man, so I'm a little bit higher than you. I loved the story. I loved the characters. I really enjoyed playing as Strife. I thought he was an awesome character to have brought into this series, so I'm going to give this game an 8.5. A great top-down RPG full of action, story, and humor. A really solid co-op experience despite a few bugs.
If you like this video and you want to see more like it, check out the channel and give us a subscribe.